Queen Victoria is often remembered as a symbol, not a person. A face on coins, a name for an era, a monument of empire. But before she became an icon, she was a child raised in isolation, control, and fear. Victoria was never meant to be queen. She was born on May 24th, 1819, only because a royal tragedy forced the British royal family into a succession crisis. Princess Charlotte of Wales, the only legitimate grandchild of King George III and the only legitimate child of the Prince Regent, died in childbirth in 1817, along with her baby. The country mourned her deeply. She had been young, popular, and seen as the future of the monarchy. Her death created panic inside the royal family. The king's sons rushed into legal marriages to produce heirs. Victoria's father, Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, the fourth son of George III, married Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. Their daughter, Alexandrina Victoria, was born 2 years later. She existed because the monarchy needed a body in the line of succession. Her father died of pneumonia when she was only 8 months old. She never knew him. From that moment on, her life became controlled by two people: her mother, the Duchess of Kent, and her mother's secretary, John Conroy. And this is only the beginning. If you enjoy thoughtful history, stay with this channel and subscribe. Together, they created what became known as the Kensington system, a strict regime designed to control every part of Victoria's life. She slept in her mother's bedroom. She was never allowed to be alone. She was not allowed to walk downstairs without holding someone's hand. She was isolated from other children. She had no normal friendships. Her education, schedule, and movements were all controlled. The goal was not protection. The goal was dependency. Conroy and her mother believed that if Victoria became weak, submissive, and emotionally dependent, they would rule through her when she became queen. Victoria later described her childhood as lonely and suffocating. Her only real companions were her dolls and her dog, Dash. In 1837, when she was 18 years old, King William IV died. Victoria became queen. Her first political acts were personal. She demanded her own bedroom. She removed John Conroy from her household. She ended her mother's control over her daily life. For the first time, she was free. Victoria had to learn how to rule while already ruling. She had no training in governance, law, diplomacy, or statecraft. She relied heavily on Prime Minister Lord Melbourne, who became her political mentor. In 1839, she reunited with her cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. She fell in love. Because she was the monarch, she had to propose to him, not the other way around. They married in 1840. This was not a political marriage. It was an emotional one. Victoria and Albert formed a real partnership. He became her closest advisor, stabilizing her temperament and guiding her toward constitutional monarchy rather than political interference. They had 9 children. Albert reformed the royal household finances, modernized court administration, supported science, education, and industrial development, and helped shape the monarchy into a moral and domestic institution rather than a purely political one. Victoria did not enjoy pregnancy. She did not enjoy childbirth. She did not idealize motherhood. But letters and records show she cared deeply about her children's futures, marriages, and security. Her reign coincided with massive transformation, industrialization, urbanization, technological change, colonial expansion, political reform. Britain became the dominant global power of the 19th century, but empire had a cost. The Irish potato famine occurred during her reign. Over 1 million people died. Another million emigrated. Victoria personally donated money to relief efforts, but the British political system continued food exports from Ireland during starvation, and relief policies were deeply inadequate. For many Irish people, Victoria became a symbol of a system that allowed mass suffering to occur under imperial rule. This divide in memory still exists today. In 1861, Prince Albert died suddenly at the age of 42, most likely from typhoid fever. Victoria collapsed emotionally. She wore black for the rest of her life. She withdrew from public appearances. She isolated herself from society. She kept Albert's rooms preserved exactly as they had been. Fresh clothes were laid out for him daily. She became known as the Widow of Windsor. For years, Britain had a queen who ruled in absence. During this period, she formed a close emotional bond with a servant, John Brown, who helped pull her out of depression and gradually return her to public life. Their relationship became the subject of rumors, but historians agree there is no solid evidence of a romantic marriage, only companionship and emotional reliance. Later in life, she formed another close bond with Abdul Karim, her Indian secretary and teacher, whom she treated with trust and affection despite political opposition. Victoria eventually returned to public life. She became Empress of India in 1876. She became the symbol of Imperial Britain. She outlived most of her generation. She watched her children marry into royal houses across Europe. She saw the monarchy transform from political power into national symbol. She ruled for 63 years. When she died in 1901, she asked for her dog to be placed on her bed. She was buried in white with her wedding veil. Beside her were personal objects, not symbols of empire, mementos of love, memory, and loss. And at the end of it all, not the empire mattered, not the crown, not the title of Empress of India, not the monuments, not the palaces. What remained was a woman who lost her father as a baby, was controlled as a child, fell in love as a young queen, lost the man she loved too early, buried children, outlived her generation, and spent half her life in mourning. History remembers Queen Victoria as an era, but history forgets that she was also a girl who grew up alone, a wife who lost her partner, a mother who struggled, and a human being who carried grief longer than she carried power. Not a symbol, not an icon, not a monument. A woman who shaped an empire and paid for it with her life. Thank you for watching. If you value history told carefully and accurately, consider staying with this channel and subscribing. The past deserves precision as much as curiosity.